so how exactly do you make a visual schedule? What does it look like? Well, this is an example of a classic picture schedule that is using graphics, although you could use actual real pictures as well. What I have here is a piece of poster board that I have cut down to make a strip, and I have my pictures oriented starting at what will be the left side for the child and moving right. However, you can also orient it top to bottom as well. I have pieces of Velcro on here. Sometimes a whole strip is used across here. I have 6 squares on this strip, but it could be more or less depending on what your child's needs are and the size of your actual pictures. I like to use cardstock or to go ahead and use regular paper and laminate, because these will get a lot of use and will start to break down. Now, there are a variety of ways that you can use visual schedules, and I'm going to show you 2 examples here in this video. The first is to break down the steps of a task or to follow a routine. This is an example of a visual schedule for washing hands. So a child would use this visual schedule if they sometimes forget all of the steps that are necessary. I would want to have this right in the bathroom, and it would be there for the child to look at and to pull off as they complete the steps. So they would come into the bathroom and maybe they get a verbal prompt, remember to use your schedule when they're washing their hand. Or maybe as an adult, you're standing there with them, showing them each step and helping them pull off since their hands will be wet. And you will say, okay, first step is turn on the water. The child will turn on the water and then they will pull off this card and place it down somewhere else. Sometimes there's a pocket or an envelope nearby. Sometimes people set these up on the fronts of binders and then tuck in the pieces in the folder inside. And then this indicates that that step is done. They can no longer visually see it and they know to move on to the next step when you have practiced this with them. Sometimes following these visual schedules take a lot of practice and repetition with a child before they're able to use them independently or even able to understand this sort of sequence of steps that they're using. Now, the second step is to use soap. So they're going to put some soap on their hands. And again, this is where an adult may pull this one off because now they're going to have soap on their hands. And then they're going to scrub their hands. So they're going to scrub, scrub, scrub. And when that is finished, you can pull that card off. And then lastly, they will look to see it is now time to dry my hands. And then you would reset all of the pictures back on here and potentially leave this hanging up in your bathroom if this is a skill that you're working on with your child. This is just one example. You could use this for coming to a meal, for eating the meal, for going to the bathroom, for taking a bath, for completing a piece of homework. Anything can be kind of broken down into these little steps if a child needs those visual reminders. Now, the second way that we often use a visual schedule is in a routine. And I'm going to give you one that uses some sensory activities in a bedtime routine. Now, this type of visual schedule is going to change based on the child's needs and really could change from day to day. For instance, I am going to say that the first step in this routine is to jump up the stairs for bed. This would be very helpful for a child that's a sensory seeker, but might not be helpful for a child that is sensory avoidant. This child that I'm making this schedule for has a lot of big sensory needs. They are wild and need help calming down. So then I'm going to give them a variety of sensory activities that may change from day to day. So I'm going to next put on the schedule a yoga strap. So they're going to jump up the stairs. They're going to go use the yoga strap, maybe pulling on it from a doorknob, maybe pulling on it with an adult or another child, getting some deep pressure input. Now I could as easily as flopped these or maybe left this step out, I can also involve the child, if they're capable, in helping plan what activities they think are going to be helpful for them. Then I'm going to put in the step of taking a bath and brushing teeth, this time with a vibrating toothbrush for that extra sensory input. And again, I might swap some of these in the routine based on the child. Then I would wrap up with reading a story and literally wrapping them up in a tight blanket. And this is an example to show a child all the steps in their routine that are going to help them go to sleep. Some children might find it helpful to have an additional picture on here with a child sleeping in bed, time for sleep. These are an example of our own sensory routine visual schedule that we have here in the Your Kids Table shop. So we include little snippets of information just to help the adult that's using this with some cues on why that activity is helpful or what to do next. But often visual schedules are meant to be very, very simple with just really simple writing on it if a child is following that independently. Again, these are kind of cues for the adult. And once again, when a child goes through this schedule, they're going to jump up the stairs and they're going to pull that off. And as the adult, you will say, what's next? Okay, let's get the yoga strap. They're going to pull the yoga strap. Maybe you do that for 5 or 10 minutes. That's done. They're going to pull it off and they're going to keep going through the steps of their routine following this visual schedule. And that is how you make a visual schedule.